Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Autistic Radio and Harry's Sunday 555 show, which, as always, is sponsored by colpack.co.uk. If you need cryotherapy for your physiotherapy, chiropractic or osteopathic practice, colpack.co.uk is the place to go, and they help us, and you use them, we benefit.
Hello everyone, this is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 25th of January 2026, and this is where we talk about the posts that have been shared on the AutisticRadio.com Facebook page. And today, in Scotland and some parts of the world, is Burns Day. And the first post is in relation to that, and it's from Aurora Consulting, who are a disability service business consultant. Aurora is an autistic-owned business offering organisations bespoke training and consulting based in Scotland. Happy Burns Night to all who celebrate. I grew up taking part in Burns poetry competition. For me, poetry is meant to be read aloud, be fully enjoyed. And Scots poetry is a brilliant expression of our culture and language. Scots is a beautiful, expressive language, full of broad words. It was a huge interest to me as a child, and I still love it. As a teacher, I ran a poetry reading afternoons each year with Burns bookmarks for all participants and gave them a range of poems they could choose from small 4 to 5 line poems to longer, more complicated ones, and a variety of ways to participate. I love sharing a Burns supper too. Veggie haggis is awfully good when shared with your pals. Do you have a favourite Scots poem?
There's like two sides to the academic thing here. You know, there's a side to Burns and a kind of almost like cheesy traditional side, what we used to call the shortbread tin, tartan, tat, you know, anything Scottish, wrap it up and sell it. But major figures, I saw like in American history, like Abraham Lincoln, I think, had Burns in his libraries and were very into the idea of see yourself as others see and all that kind of almost philosophy running through the agrarian kind of culture of the guy. Although in his history he was a member of many lodges, he was a figure, came to Edinburgh and met a lot of worthies, Walter Scott and all that. I wouldn't say I know him inside out, but we were introduced to him in school. There was this kind of feeling of like, he's our national poet, you've got to learn a wee bit of this stuff. I had neighbours who were really into him who were from a previous generation, and I was introduced to that as well. So he's filtering about there all the time, influencing things in various ways, becoming a kind of cultural figure to associate food with him and stuff like that. But there's loads you can say about this guy and this kind of day.
Love poetry, and it's not all poetry, but sometimes people put words together that mean so much more than the words and the simplicity, and convey a meaning in few words that really touches me. And it isn't about logic, it's about association and the sound of words and the taste of words, or the visual images that words, if they're put together in a way, make for me. An appreciation of some poetry is an autistic thing, but poetry is vast, and much of it flies over me and doesn't touch me at all.
What Robbie said in the text, I like some poetry. Songs are basically poetry set to music, and I agree with that. There are couplets and parts of songs that I can regularly refer to, and that's when times are good and when times are bad. There's a song by Bob Dylan called Positively 4th Street, and that really says my feelings towards some of the people who didn't treat me quite as well as they should have done in the past.
The next post is from Neurodivergent Girl, personal blog, married, mum of 2 boys, diagnosed ADHD and autistic, close support needs. This is a safe space. And shared the following, which is a quote from a gem tattoo, and it says, "The neurodivergent urge to over-explain myself during misunderstandings to try to avoid further misunderstandings but then confusing people in the process, which does in fact cause, you guessed it, more misunderstandings.
Oh yeah, that can become a loop. I wouldn't say this is totally me because, I learned very quickly to give up trying. Sometimes I just accept that it's just not going to transmit. And there may be other ways of, communicating. A misunderstanding itself can be an education, if you just change your perspective. So, but I'm amused by this because there is a loop. I mean, it's no fun. The loop can get really horrible. You can really take it internally that you're just not being understood, and it's very frustrating.
Yes, I've been in positions where I believe a misunderstanding's taken place where it might not have happened. And even if it has, it's this sort of urge to try and fix it. But the more you try and fix it, it's like you're making a drama out of something that needn't be one in the grand scheme of things, but you just feel the need, or I felt the need, to correct things, especially if it's been done from, I feel, my own mistake, genuine mistake, whatever, saying the wrong thing to someone, or using the wrong word, or saying something in a tone that sounds sarcastic rather than genuine, is one example.
I hate generalising, but I will, as an autistic person, speak truth, and that is very inconvenient in certain social settings and can lead to a lot of complications.
Yeah, amen to that. You're right there, Ray, in my feelings. I think what this post says is very context dependent, because in a trusting relationship or a loving relationship or a long-term relationship or a family relationship, we can allow ourselves the need to fully explain things if people give us that latitude. And if people do give us that latitude, I think it is a way and a framework to get to be understood and to solidify the relationship in a better way. It's difficult to accept an autistic person trying to fully explain a misunderstanding. I know it myself. I'm always doing it, but it's not going to work in the outside world very well, and we have to not mask, but treat other people differently to how we treat the loved ones around us.
In the text, Robbie says, sometimes you have to accept someone is not going to change their point of view. The autistic person will always be blamed. Sometimes the best answer is to do nothing and never to try to fix things while you are angry. You can't think logically while you are angry.
I like how Robbie approaches his social scenarios on an even keel. He believes everybody's included and communication is even. But what we encounter sometimes is there are societal rules in conversation and we meet that resistance at times. But I really do admire how Robbie sees it. He's just an equal participant in the conversation and in society. I think it's often denied to people.
It's a good point, though, about never try to fix things while you're angry. Not even just angry, while you're upset, while you're, in hysteria in a way, because you feel, I've got to fix this. So you're all wound up and you don't think logically. You're just trying to, basically what you do, or what I've done when I have been doing it, is apologise. Even when I've made a mistake on here, it's like, sorry, I shouldn't have said it, or sorry, I said a wrong word. And it's just like, I felt the need and feel the need to apologise. And the weird thing about that is apologising makes you feel worse.
Robbie says in the text he's not in an equal position. He's just learnt his limitations in response to what I just said. Yeah, and I accept that, Robbie. Yeah, you don't approach the situation. I think sometimes we can approach like victims, or not victims, but like lesser parties, like we have to compromise and be compliant, yeah. And I just like how you don't, and that's what I was picking up from it. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
It takes a lot of restraint, but I've learned from many years of learned experience. And if I try and fix the situation, they're not going to change their view. Their ableism's built in. So if I try and explain away and try and fix it. It's just digging the hole deeper. So I've been learning to walk away, ignore posts on Facebook, and that has been the beginnings of things slightly improving.
Ain't that the truth?
The next post is from When My Brain Is Messy, an AUDHD children's picture book author and mum of two, and shared the following. I've been in a shopping centre 3 times this week. I'm not okay.
Years ago, they opened a really big West Quay, it's called, in Southampton, and I just could never go in there. And I only go to Southampton about once a month, but the first few times I literally just walked in the door and walked out again. It took me a long time to go further in there. And to be honest with you, there's some public toilets in there, but you have to go into the centre and then up a couple of floors to get to them. It's big and it's shiny and it's bright and it's loud and there's lots of people there. So it took me, like I say, a few attempts just to be able to get more than a few feet inside the door.
Yeah, this week I've been in a few shopping centres which I go to regularly. Well, not even a shopping centre, big stores. And I just found the lights too much. Actually having to wear sunglasses when I go into these places. I wouldn't say it was quite triggering. It is to a certain extent. It unsettles me. And I feel like I'm buzzing a bit after it, a bit high energy. So I'm not enjoying it. Could be age, could be my eyesight. I'm going to get that checked out quite soon. The idea of the loss of the corner shop as well is a thing, that intimacy and neighbourhood kind of community thing. Less stressful environments. Kind of were wiped away by the big store. It's the economics of it. And yeah, I must add, some people, including neurodivergent autistic people, absolutely love shopping malls.
I think there's also a thing Ray will understand is the independent record store and getting in there and chatting with people. I mean, that's a great thing.
I have found shopping centres harder to enter or cope with as I got older. I remember I used to enjoy going to Glasgow and going to the St Enoch's shopping centre in the centre of Glasgow, and even getting into one of the shops, which is like a kind of gadget shop, and it was always busy. I wasn't on my own right enough. I was with friends, so it was a sort of kind of safe sort of space thing. But it's still a lot to deal with, being somewhere that was quite busy and not actually buying anything either. It was just somewhere to go and see, somewhere to go and meet. But if we did anything, it'd be go to McDonald's or go somewhere for something to eat and sit there for a little while and then go out and wander about the city centre in general. And I just couldn't do that now. When I'm going through the city centre for whatever reason, I just kind of go through as quickly as I can to where I'm going, like the coffee shop or the pub or meeting place. I don't hang about, but there was a time where I actually hung about quite comfortably. And I'm certainly not a big fan of supermarkets. I certainly wouldn't go 3 times a week. I'm not even a big fan of the convenience store down where I live, which is basically a mini supermarket. It's just so much to deal with, it feels. And generally, when I shop, it's online to keep away from that anxiety. And I find that a bit frustrating because it'd be good to go to shop and then see something that you wouldn't have seen if you were doing it online, because when I do it online, I just do the same things all the time. I don't really look for anything else. But it's just amazing how intense and how anxiety-provoking it can be, whether it just be sounds, lights, just all manner of things. People.
That's the system, the way we're like the end of a supply chain. And what you were saying there, you mentioned the word pub there, because I was recalling when I used to love going to shopping centres, it was because I was just out of a pub and I was waiting at the bus station to get my bus home and stocking up on groceries. So waltzing through the shopping mall, after a good session in the pub, is one of these altered experiences. But you can see where that ends up if your life is totally dependent on being soused to get through it.
We came up with a few things in the text. I don't eat out alone if it's not as necessary. I refuse to use self-checkouts, which I totally understand. There was other things like the physical shopping. Almost never buy CDs in physical shops, but usually buy food in physical shops. and other things online. Most items I buy are specialists and shops are too far away from where you live, so that's another reason why the online is a better option. The next post is from Neurodiuniverse, We Are Who We Are, which is a blogger community organisation. At Neurodiverse, We Are Who We Are. Our mission is to support neurodivergent individuals and their families through inclusive, holistic, and community-based approaches. And they shared the following: sensory play, grounding moments, connection. After a full-on week, sometimes what our nervous systems need most is to slow right down. Isabel shared that in class they'd been making Roman pots, but hers sadly broke when moving it. So today I surprised her with some clay so we could try again together. Of course I had to make one too. Gave me a Dirty Dancing vibe. But yeah, I'm definitely not a pro. There's something incredibly grounding about sensory play. Rolling, shaping, creating with our hands. It helps regulate busy minds, release tension, and reconnect after long, demanding days. That said, when the clay started drying on our skin, we were both very quick to wash our hands. That sensory input was a hard no. With the household feeling a bit poorly, this gentle Saturday activity gave us space to connect, reset, and just be. No pressure, no perfection, just learning through doing. Ta-da. Now the challenge is making sure these ones don't get dropped. At Neurodiuniverse, we believe sensory experiences are powerful tools for grounding, regulation, and well-being for children and adults alike. We all deserve moments to pause and reset. I'm currently recording content and making sensory play videos to inspire you at home. Watch this space. If there's anything you like to know how to make, let me know and I'll make it happen. And they've shared some pictures of the clay making.
I'm wondering what Robbie thinks about this, because I think I understand that Robbie likes doing things, and we've spoken often about crafts in the sensory kind of, equilibrium of being active in something like this. Yeah.
I used to enjoy doing pottery at school and evening classes. It very much like my crochet I do now. It's something where if you made a mistake, you could put it right. And buildings I made was exactly the same method as the cool pots. And I only stopped doing it because the government took the subsidies away and it just became far too expensive.
How easy is it to get access to clay and things like that? It's like when we find there's a lack of something in our community, something we might have an urge or desire to participate in. You go, well, where's the resource for that? Where can you get clay? Where can I start making things? I mean, often the onus is on you to go and get the supplies yourself and bring them home and do it at home on your own. It's often nice to just be in that kind of coexistent group activity, given that people respect noise and all that, So, because this post was really dwelling a bit on sensory feelings. And often when we participate in social settings to do these things, we have to kind of deal with the sensory issues of being with others who might be a wee bit random and noisy.
For me, the kind of clay work I did was it was needed firing and you needed all the equipment. So without a class, it wasn't possible. And a lot of classes now, it's a predetermined short course where you're told exactly what you're going to make, which is, I don't enjoy that kind of rigid structure.
I've always been seeking this kind of introductory kind of setting where you can go and explore creative arts and crafts, because honestly, I've spent most of my life thinking I'm not that crafty, I'm not artistic, because I can't draw. I have no kind of skill or aptitude in those directions. And yet I feel a desire and a need to create, maybe produce things, So I do collage a lot in various ways, mentally, physically, poetically, musically, writing, imagery, cutting up old papers and magazines. But just to have exposure to something you might not have tried and find it, that's the one for you. But as you say, they very often structure it in such a way that you're aiming for a certain kind of projected goal, and that can be really off-putting.
I think of it making a pot as a bit like certain autism situations where you've started off as this lump and you're gradually building up and the sides are coming up and everything looks smooth, and then it starts to flop about and you just can't stop it from flopping about and it collapses and it's a meltdown. I've always seen making pottery as sometimes analogous to autism.
Again, I think that's a situation you're getting in maybe above your head. You know, the expectations are too much. And see, a slow intro of like, deal with this stage, build, and get there. But to leap right in is often can be heartbreaking. I love the wee heartbreak symbol right beside the phrase of mentioning where the person broke their pot by dropping it.
The next post is from AUDHD Unfiltered, health and wellness website, Canadian Autistic ADHD and Unfiltered. Welcome into my brain and daily life. And they share the following. You don't have to explain yourself 100 times. You don't need to twist yourself into knots just to sound reasonable or clear enough. You don't have to write a whole thesis every time you set a boundary just to prove it's valid. You're allowed to draw a line, a real line, and say, this is too much for me. And that should be enough. No debate required, no PowerPoint needed, no need to be completely burned out before someone takes you seriously. Your feelings matter. Your boundary exists because something in you said stop, and that alone makes it legitimate. Your boundary deserves respect, even if the other person doesn't understand it, even if it bothers them, even if it brings up their own stuff. You have nothing to prove, just yourself to respect.
I've mentioned this before. Initially, after my mother died and I was trying to cope with things, my doctor said to me, if you're unsure, just say no. Don't say don't know, don't agree for the sake of agreeing. Just if you're unsure, don't be pushed, just say no.
Yeah, it's sort of like the gate at the end of the garden, isn't it? It's like you can't just let every Tom, Dick and Harry in. Although I do like at times being absorbent, but you can get pushed into very, very demanding requests upon your time and energy.
That word, no, it's a difficult word to say in my experience without feeling that you're being offensive or feeling it's a negative thing towards a person or something that's been asked of you. Sometimes it feels like a failing because you're saying no. It's like if you're invited out somewhere and it's something that might have been absolutely great if you're in the right mood, you say no, it's like you feel you're being a spoil sport. Or if someone's asking you to do something for them, complete a task, and you've no energy, and you say no, you feel bad for not being helpful. I've had that myself. I can't remember who said it to me, but it was somebody in the medical profession. The mindset is that it's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries, particularly these days where there seems to be more and more people, in the streets at times. Things are just so busy and people in such a rush. It's just need boundaries. And you need boundaries within your own boundaries as well, and not to feel bad about it, and not having to explain why. That's what this post is saying, is you shouldn't need to give a big explanation for it. If someone says no, if someone wants you to respect their boundaries, do it. You may be told why some other time, but you shouldn't have to over-explain yourself, because I think that's how many people feel, how many autistic people feel. Talk about it. What's wrong? And sometimes it's just not the right time to explain, to put it into words, because you're trying to, you don't feel right, but sometimes you can't put it into words at that particular time, and that frustrates people. But that doesn't make it you're wrong. It's just the situation, and boundaries must be respected.
Yeah, you get this at Christmas time where everyone's saying, if you say, I don't do Christmas, then you get this old Scrooge humbug and all this. And I give them a rude reply these days, but some things, it's just overwhelming. And if you want to go off and do what you want to do, you carry on doing that. But, don't browbeat me because I just don't do that sort of thing.
Is this maybe hinting at that pleasing thing? You know, of like, I'm sitting here thinking, why would somebody not think they could set boundaries? It's saying there's people who feel they cannot set boundaries. They shouldn't set boundaries because of they've got to conform and comply and be pleasing to others, to please others. It's just a thought I had there. But Robbie's putting a lot in the text here. In response to this one, he was supposed to accept what others had chosen. If you explain, people come up with their solution and make you sound unreasonable and ungrateful if you don't accept their solution.
Many times, a lot of things I wasn't even asked. They just imposed choices, used the excuse to doing what's best for me, and I was just supposed to accept what they decided was best for me.
Yeah, it's like in that kind of relationship, you can't really assert boundaries, can you? Or you can, but it's difficult.
And when it comes to professionals, they use their qualifications to override your experience.
Yes, that will happen many times. And it doesn't have to just be professionals. It can be someone with your best interests at heart, you know, even a friend. And sometimes people make assumptions of how you behave or what you say without exactly knowing the full story. And those assumptions are damaging because with a lot of it isn't good intended, but a lot of good intentions are made, but it's misunderstandings. And when the boundary thing is ignored and someone saying no is ignored, even the best intentions of counter-attacking the no answer by what they think is a better solution, it does a lot more damage. People realise it's like you're forcing someone to do something, even though they've already told you about boundaries.
A frequent one I have done to me is about use of phones. Now, I don't use phones because I can't cope with the overwhelm and the unpredictability. And it doesn't matter how much I say, oh, you just have to learn to use the phone, as invalidating my experience. The fact that I'm reluctant to even hold someone else's phone if they're showing me something, and there's no way I'd make a call or answer it because I would just freeze. The brain would shut down. But it's come back to me time and time again because neurotypical people don't have any problem. It's just a learning issue, and it's about their preference rather than my need. That it's easier for the services and people for me to comply with their favourite method of communication.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a good discussion tonight. And thanks for people who shared the posts we've talked about. This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday, the 25th of January, 2026, which is part of the Spectrum Voices conversation, which is live every Sunday from 5:55 PM to 7 PM UK time. So thank you once again, and I'll see you next time.